Bill here. So today we're going to winterize the camper, at least the water system. And I'll start off by talking a little bit about the antifreeze. Now, I used to just go to the Walmart and buy the cheapest stuff there was, but then I realized that when you looked at the ingredients on there, the cheap stuff, the $2 a jug stuff, is made with an alcohol. And when you go read about it, that alcohol eats up the rubber and the plastic in your water system, like the seals on your toilet, inside your water pump and whatnot. And I thought, well, that just ain't good. So I found out that RV companies make this waterline safe, uses propylene glycol, as you can see in the ingredients there, and it will actually lubricate those seals, not hurt anything, and it's also it doesn't taste as bad in the water system. So if you get a little residual left in there in the spring after you flush stuff out, this is first of all safe with potable water, and it doesn't taste nearly as bad. So this is what we'll be using today. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find your hot water bypass valves, because you don't want to put that antifreeze in your hot water heater. It's just not good for it. So what you're going to find is a series of two valves, and right now you see they're open on the top and open on the bottom. That means the water is going to flow through the hot water heater, and the bypass is closed. It means the water is not going to bypass. So what I'm going to do is come in here and carefully try not to crack the valve. Turn all of them. So what we got now is the water can't flow into or out of the hot water heater, and any water that flows through here is just going to bypass it completely through that line. That's our first step. All right, second step here, come out to your hot water heater. Now that we've bypassed it, I'm going to tell you a secret. I just already did this, but for sake of showing you, you're going to go ahead and pull out the drain. So undo this drain down here, and water should start chugging out. Like I said, mine's already empty. When you undo this drain at the end of the year, I like to clean off all the excess Teflon tape that builds up on it. Clean up any Teflon tape that's in there. This is a Atwood, so it doesn't have a element, but if you were if you had a Dometic or another brand that had a sacrificial anode, now might be a good time to take a look at it. And just as a tip, if you are draining it, if you pull that relief valve at the top, it'll drain one heck of a lot faster. But you can see I've already emptied mine, so there's just a little bit dripping out. So we'll leave this guy like this and move on to our next step. So after we've got our hot water heater drain in there, the next step is to locate your low water drain, because we're going to drain out as much of the regular water as we can first. And you can see mine are right there. So I'm going to pause this for a second while I go ahead and take those two black stoppers out. Sometimes, depending on how tight they are, you might have to grab that white collar first so they don't rotate. So let me go ahead and take those out, and that's going to drain by gravity most of the fresh water that's in the lines. Okay, now we got them open. Just while those are open, you can go inside and open, just open your different faucets one at a time. That'll let some air in up top, and that way the water will drain out faster, and you'll end up letting more out. Now, the reason we're worrying about doing this at all is we end up with less water in the system. So when we suck in that coolant, it'll be a higher concentration, and just a less chance of freezing. Now, at this point, some people choose to blow the lines out. If you like belt and suspenders, that's fine. Doesn't hurt anything. I've never blown them out. I just go ahead and do the antifreeze. So after I go in and open these up and let the air flow out, we'll go ahead and when it's not dripping, we'll put the ends back on. You want to make sure to put the ends back on, because for this next step, you want the system sealed back up again. See, we just got an air bubble in there. It lets them out. One word of caution: when you're working with this and you're taking these ends out, don't just throw these around. These are part of your potable water system, and if you get bacteria and stuff in these when you're handling them, you're putting it right back in your potable water. So treat these like you would a drinking dish. I take them out, I clean them up with soap and water, and I make sure I got clean hands before I put them back in. Okay, we've gone through and we've opened all the faucets and pulled all the pull all your hoses up like this with the faucets open, your shower and everything outside one, and we've drained all the water we can out the low water drain point, and then I've closed all the faucets back up, and I put the low water drain covers back on. So now we've got a nice tight system again. It's just full of air. So this is important. You want to make sure these are all off, because in the next step, if they're not, you'll just start pumping this $5 a gallon coolant right out whatever's open. So go ahead and make sure they're all closed. Okay, now we're back in our camper and we're getting ready to start going ahead and pumping this fluid back in through the water lines. Now, if you don't do this next step, then you've got to pour this coolant or antifreeze into your water tank. It dilutes with the water that's in there because you really can't ever get all the water out. It's not going to be nearly as effective. I think this is a little bit intimidating to some folks, but I think this is probably the best way to do it if you're going to use this antifreeze, is you find out where your water pump is. And this is my water pump right here. It's in a little compartment under my fridge, 2 screws, and you can get to it. And on your water pump, you're going to have an inlet side that's sucking from the tank underneath, and then you're going to have an outlet side that feeds your freshwater system in your camper. On this inlet side, where it's pulling from, you can go buy these little brass tees. You can just go into a camper store, you can go into a hardware store, and these are pretty standard size fittings. Just you're going to go in there and buy that brass fitting where there's just a T, and this has got a valve on the back of it. You really can't see the valve because it's facing behind me here. But normally the valve is turned so the water flows this way. Actually, it's flowing back this way, and the pump is going to suck from the tank directly through to the pump. When you put this little T in there, now I can turn the valve to point up to this guy, and now instead of pulling from the water tank underneath, I can pull from this hose. Now the benefit is, you'll see in a second, I can pierce a hole in the top of one of those jugs, and I can pull antifreeze directly into the system without pouring it in my water tank. That way my water tank stays, it doesn't get that antifreeze taste or any kind of antifreeze in it that I have to flush out. I do get as much water out of my water tank as I can. I kind of go underneath and push it and kind of get it till I blow all the water out of it that I can. But I prefer doing this method because I don't like diluting that water in the freshwater tank again, and I don't like getting any more of it in there than I need. And this propylene glycol version is about $5 a gallon, and I don't want to use any more than I need to. So let me get a jug in here set up, and we'll go to the next step. Okay, we've got the jug set up, and so I just stuck that line in there. I turn my little valve up, and now the lines are all full of air, which means they're easy to compress. So this first jug is basically just going to pressurize the system. So the pump will run a little, it'll run like it does when it's sucking air a little bit, so don't be alarmed by that. And we'll turn the water on, or the pump on. Here it's pressurizing the system. And right now it's just pressurizing a bunch of air. So now I've got my system pressurized with pink coolant. So now I can go through to each one of the faucets. And I would recommend having a towel on hand because this will splatter a little bit. And you're just going to go through one by one, and you're going to pump, run one corner at a time, one faucet at a time, until you get nice solid pink coming out of each one. I start in my kitchen, then I go to my sink in my bathroom, I go to my shower, and make sure to do the toilet. Don't forget your shower outside. You're going to do each one of those, and you just want to run it till you see nice solid dark pink. You want to make sure it's not just light pink mixed with water. Now the thing where it might be nice to have a second person is you don't want to suck that down to air. So it's nice to have a second person here warning you when this is getting low and when to switch to the next jug. Now, just to let you know, I just use these buckets because this really does splash a bit. And when I got a bucket, I make sure to pour enough in each sink drain to make sure that I'm getting the trap full of the stuff too. So we'll go ahead and start this one just so you can kind of see when I start to run it here. Right now it's just letting air out of the sink. Getting some water out of the system. And remember, we drained it with our gravity drain, so you can see how ineffective that gravity drain really is. There was a lot of water left in that system with that gravity drain, so you can never count on that to winterize. So that we got nice solid pink on that run. So I'm not going to use that to pour in the drain because that has a lot of water content. When I come back through, I'll just do a little squirt in each one to make sure I've got it good, and that'll be good and concentrated. I'll use that to put in the drain. So now I'm not going to bore you with it, but I'm going to go on from faucet to faucet to faucet and do that same process. Okay, I've done a couple of drains now, and you can see I'm getting down kind of close to the bottom of this jug. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and change it before I draw any air to this fresh one, and I'll save those last bits of coolant that's concentrated, and I can use those either to top a jug off before I start, or I can use it right in the drain. So just wanted to show you that that's about how low I let it go before I flip over to a new jug. Okay, so now I've gone through and I've done every drain until I've got pink. I even went down to the low water drain and I just cracked them open. I didn't open them all the way, I just cracked it till they started to drip, until they started to drip pink. So I know my whole system's got the pink stuff going through it now, so I'll go one last time and just do a quick spurt out of each faucet, and this will be a higher concentrated level. And what I get this time, I will dump into the drains to make sure that the drain cleanouts have antifreeze in them. So I'm gonna go through doing that one more time here. Turn the pump back on. Do this first corner, and this should be a little less violent with a little less air in it, so you don't have to go quite as long. So let me go around and do that to each corner. Okay, so we've gone ahead and run a second time through all the corners. There's nothing but pink coming out, no air bubbles. And so now I'll just go through and I've poured my excess into the individual drains just to make sure there's some antifreeze in each one of those. Then I'll go clean up my mess where it's splattered around a little bit. Just a damp, take a cloth and get it damp with water, and this stuff wipes right up. And it's safe, it's biodegradable and actually potable. So just pour the last little bit in the drains and we'll be all done. And then in the spring, all you do is hook up some fresh water in the tank, kind of reverse the process. You'll flip that valve to suck from the tank. You'll run until you've got clean water at each corner. Then I like to hook up to city, do the same thing, run that through, get the pink out, and then I'll do my put the bleach in my freshwater tank. You can read about that, about how much to put in there. Run that through the lines, let that sit overnight. That sanitizes everything so I can drink my fresh water from the tank. And if you use this propylene glycol stuff, it doesn't, there's really no residual taste left in the lines, and everything's back and running for spring. So there you go. Hope it helped.